Hi, well, as you mentioned there, not just a decision coming out of nowhere. Basically, if you look at the cities around Marseille, such as Cannes, Nice, Aix-en-Provence, these are cities who voted in favour of the president in the first round. In Marseille, however, it was a very different picture. Nearly a third of all voters decided to back Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the extreme left leader, in the first round, while Macron came second with just about 22% of votes. So one statistic much higher than the national average, and for the president, another that was much lower. He'd received about 28% of total votes in the first round. So Emmanuel Macron is going to have to convince voters who would normally vote to the left to vote for him, and also those who would vote more to the right, to the extreme right, Marine Le Pen, who came out with about a fifth of all votes in Marseille, and try and bring together on this Easter weekend, try and bring together voters and convince them that they should back him for his program in the week to come, in next weekend's second round. So Emmanuel Macron also, though, having to take into account another very big factor. Almost a third of all voters decided not to go to the polling station last weekend. That's a massive chunk of all voters, higher than what was already a very big national average of people deciding to boycott the election. Well, this time around, he's going to have to convince people not just to go out and vote, but then also vote for him. So Emmanuel Macron in the Pharo is going to be speaking in one of these historic buildings in Marseille, with, as you can see, the old port behind me, a city that he says is so dear to him. He may be from the north of France, but he is a supporter of Marseille's football team. But it's going to be about much more than sport today. It's going to be about convincing them politically, and that might not be quite such an easy task.
Yeah, James, football aside, how is Emmanuel Macron going to do that? What do you think some of his talking points might be?
Well, as mentioned, with a third of voters backing Jean-Luc Mélenchon, a lot of those are very young people who are worried about the future. They hear that perhaps with Emmanuel Macron, they're not going to have a very solid future. It just doesn't seem like some of those glory days are ahead of them. So he's going to have to show that with him, that Emmanuel Macron himself can bring forward this message of prosperity to them. But also in Marseille, the topic of insecurity will definitely be on the cards, but also a very local topic. Macron was supposed to be in Marseille giving a speech just a couple of weeks ago to basically talk about some great renovation plans for the city. Basically, he was going to try and renovate the city, bring in a huge amount of cash to try and upgrade schools, upgrade the transport, and basically bring a sense of fresh air to the city. He wasn't able to do that because that's when the war in Ukraine began. So today we can expect him to touch on not just nationwide topics, but also try and convince voters that locally he's the one to pick.